Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the most advanced technologies on Earth are no longer limited by software, but by something far more primitive. Not code, not data, atoms. Because right now, a silent breakdown is happening inside the global supply chain, involving two metals almost nobody is paying attention to, copper and silver. This is the copper-silver paradox, and it has the potential to stall the entire tech revolution. Most people look at smartphones, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence systems as digital miracles. But strip away the illusion and what you are left with is a physical system, a nervous system made of copper wiring and silver connections. And right now, that system is under stress. The core of the problem lies in a relationship that most investors completely overlook. Silver is not mined the way most people think it is. Nearly 70% of global silver production does not come from silver mines at all. It comes as a byproduct of mining for copper, lead, and zinc. This creates a dangerous dependency. Because if copper production slows down, silver supply does not just tighten, it disappears. And right now, copper mining is entering one of the most difficult phases in its history. Ore grades are declining globally, meaning miners have to dig deeper, process more rock, and spend more energy just to maintain the same output. In key regions like Chile and Peru, labor strikes, water shortages, and political instability are making production even more fragile. So when copper slows, silver quietly gets squeezed with it. This is the first layer of the paradox. At the same time, demand is not slowing down. It is accelerating. Artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and global electrification all rely heavily on copper. Massive data centers, expanding power grids, and miles of electrical infrastructure are driving demand higher every year. Some projections are already pointing toward a significant copper shortfall in the coming decade. Silver is facing its own pressure as well. High-efficiency solar panels, advanced electronics, and next-generation communication systems all require silver for its unmatched conductivity. The world is building faster than the ground can supply, and that imbalance is only getting worse. This is where the paradox becomes impossible to ignore. The world needs more silver than ever, but the supply of silver depends on a copper industry that is already under pressure. Two critical metals, tied together, both heading to ore shortage, with no simple way out. When silver becomes too expensive or difficult to source, industries try to adapt through a process known as thrifting, reducing the amount of silver used in each application. But the most effective substitute for silver in many electronic uses is copper. This creates a circular problem. As silver demand rises, industries shift toward copper, which increases pressure on copper supply and pushes it deeper into shortage. Instead of solving the problem, the system amplifies it. A feedback loop forms, tightening constraints on both metals at the same time. The scale of industrial demand is already pushing this system toward its limits. The solar industry alone consumes hundreds of millions of ounces of silver each year, and that number continues to rise as global capacity expands. Even if manufacturers reduce the amount of silver per panel, total demand keeps increasing due to sheer production volume. At the same time, 5G infrastructure, artificial intelligence systems, and electric vehicles are layering additional demand on top of an already strained supply chain. Meanwhile, the world's largest copper mines are aging. Extraction is becoming more complex, more energy-intensive, and more expensive. Miners are forced to dig deeper and process lower quality, or just to maintain production levels. So this creates another constraint, where more energy is required to produce copper, while copper itself is needed to build the energy systems of the future. On the surface, markets appear stable. Prices move gradually, and financial charts suggest normal conditions. But beneath that surface, physical realities tell a different story. Inventories of available metal are shrinking, and the gap between paper claims and actual physical supply continues to widen. In some cases, there are multiple claims for every single ounce of silver that physically exists. This creates a fragile system where even a small increase in demand for physical delivery could expose serious liquidity risks. As a result, more capital is quietly shifting toward tangible assets, where ownership is not dependent on financial contracts but on actual material in hand. Geopolitics adds another layer of risk to this already complex situation. Mining is only one part of the supply chain. Refining is another critical bottleneck. A significant portion of global refining capacity is concentrated in a limited number of regions. In an environment of rising geopolitical tensions and trade restrictions, even a single disruption in refining operations could ripple across global supply chains. What was once considered a simple commodity issue is now evolving into a strategic concern with implications for national security. Even if new deposits of copper and silver are discovered, the challenge does not end there. The raw material must still be refined into a usable form, and global refining capacity is already under strain. Years of underinvestment, regulatory pressure, and facility shutdowns have created a bottleneck. This is what can be described as a refining shock, where the availability of raw ore does not translate into usable supply. This constraint alone has the potential to push prices higher, even if mining output remains stable. For decades, the global economy rewarded digital innovation. Software, platforms, and internet-based systems generated the largest gains, but that cycle is beginning to shift. The physical components that support the digital world are becoming increasingly scarce. Copper and silver are not just commodities. They are the foundation of modern technology, and that foundation is showing signs of stress. This is not just a short-term market fluctuation, it is a structural shift, a transition from a world dominated by digital systems to one where physical resources once again take center stage. In this environment, atoms matter more than algorithms. And by the time this reality becomes obvious to the majority, the market may have already begun to reprice these critical resources. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with someone who still believes the future is purely digital. And if you want to stay ahead of these shifts, subscribe to McBrumman, where we focus on the signals that most people overlook and the forces shaping the future beneath the surface.